It's been nearly a full year since Hogwarts Legacy was unveiled back at the PS5 showcase event in September of 2020, and there are still some big questions fans are dying to have answered. In today's video, we're going to go over some of those big questions, and I'm joined today by a very special guest to help me do that. That's right, you guys already know, if you read the title that is, Alex from Podcast Now joins me for today's video, and we're going to give you the 7 biggest questions we still have for Hogwarts Legacy. If you follow Hogwarts Legacy news on YouTube, then you're probably already familiar with Alex, but if not, definitely check out his channel where he has a ton of content covering so many different games in addition to Hogwarts Legacy. Seriously, the man pumps out a ridiculous amount of content for his audience. Go show him some love, guys. Alex, man, thank you so much for joining me on this video, and I'm gonna turn it over to you for question number 1.
So my first question is one that's been asked a lot, I think, on YouTube. I know I've specifically made videos for it. I've seen a lot of people make videos for it, is will Dumbledore be in this game? It's a question I think you need to ask yourself. You need to look at yourself in the mirror probably once a day and ask this question. It's one that I think has pretty big ramifications. It's definitely one that's possible, right? But what would that mean? I mean, I think it means a lot. I mean, that's a character that we all know. We all know who they are. We all know what they've done when they get older, but we've never seen them, you know, as a 11-year-old boy, as a 12-year, you know, however old Dumbledore may be. Again, obviously the years need to line up, and they need to line up perfectly. You really have a very small percentage chance that this happens. I don't think it's impossible. In fact, I've been rooting for this to happen since the beginning. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can come from this. He could be a close friend to you. You know, I guess how much of a friend could he become? What are the interactions like with him? I think it has a lot of ramifications on the game itself.
Love that one, Alex. Okay, here I'm going to go with a super obvious one, but one I absolutely think every fan wants to know, and that's when is the release date? Thanks to the 2018 leaked trailer, we know the game has been in development for quite some time. We also know the original plan was to release the game at some point in 2021, but once 2021 actually got here, Avalanche let us know pretty early on that the game was being pushed all the way to 2022. And since then, yeah, that's the last we've heard about it. The nebulous 2022. What's crazy is now that we're more than halfway through the year 2021, we could actually be around 6 months away from the launch of the game. Of course, that's if it's launching early 2022. I'm actually still expecting it to be much later in the year, but probably around the holidays, but we still just don't know. Avalanche, give us that release date soon.
Okay, my next question is, how will the sorting hat work? This one, to me, I feel like has always been one of, if not the biggest questions I've personally had. And it's honestly, it's the first thing that we're probably going to be doing in the game. I mean, a lot of us, I think, can theorize, you know, you jump into the game, you get to make your character, right? Character creation. Maybe you name them, although we're actually not sure. Nobody's really ever mentioned that. They've never talked about it, but maybe you name them. Maybe you pick out a wand for them. Maybe, you know, you customize their appearance, right? Male or female, and then you get sorted into a house. But how does that part work, right? Do you have to answer questions? Is it connected to like Pottermore? There's been speculation. There's been a lot of actually really good ideas into how you know, the entire thing could work, and I like them, and I like the idea. I like the idea of it being separated from the game, but at the same time, I also don't, because I also feel like you maybe want to keep everything bound to the game. So doing like an app, like a quiz on your phone, and then having that connect to the game, I feel like that's maybe one step too far, but I like the concept, right? But I like it. I mean, you can go where it's randomized, but then you're not going to get what you want. So like if you want to be a Ravenclaw, or you want to be a Slytherin, and then it just randomizes you. It's like, oh, that's not good. But then it's like, well, do you have to take a quiz, like a morality quiz? Or are they going to have like questions on the screen and you have to answer, you know, A, B, C, or D? Or do you just get to pick? Do you simply pick? You know, kind of scroll over which house you choose, press X, press A, you know, left click on the mouse, and all of a sudden you're into it, and they play, you know, just a normal cutscene that they'll play for everybody that picks it, right? There's a couple ways that they could go. I think some are more in-depth than others, right? I think doing questions like a morality thing makes it seem a little bit more personal, like you're actually being judged, you're actually being placed, versus you just picking one. But again, then you may not get the house that you want, and then automatically you're starting the game out playing something you don't really want to play. So it's definitely interesting. It's been a question, I think, since the very beginning, and it's one I want an answer to.
Okay, Alex, for number 4, I'm getting down to the fine details of Hogwarts here, and I want to know if we can sneak into other common rooms. Avalanche has already said we'll be able to choose our house at the start of the game, which means they'll certainly have all of the common rooms in the game, right? But will we actually have to do 4 playthroughs to see them all? If it's been a while since any of you out there have read the books, each common room had some form of protection designed to prevent students from other houses from being able to just enter in whenever they want. Of course, most of us are familiar with the Fat Lady portrait guarding Gryffindor Tower and her requirement of a password for students. This password would change throughout the school year, and Slytherin, much like the Gryffindors, also used a password system. Ravenclaw, the house most known for its intellect, required students to answer a riddle before entering. Hufflepuff had a method of entry that never changed, requiring students to tap a specific barrel, 2 from the bottom, middle of the second row, in the rhythm of Helga Hufflepuff. If done incorrectly, they were sprayed with vinegar. So on their own, there's nothing that would prevent any student from learning these methods, regardless of their respective house. But will Hogwarts Legacy allow us to enter any common room we wish using the standard method? Or will it require something more involved, such as Polyjuice Potion? In the original series, Harry visits all of the common rooms except for Hufflepuff. He uses Polyjuice in Book 2 to sneak into the Slytherin common room, and then visits the Ravenclaw common room, along with Luna, near the end of Deathly Hallows. Professor McGonagall also enters Ravenclaw Tower just before the Battle of Hogwarts by answering a riddle correctly. However, Amicus Carrow couldn't get in despite attempts to break the door down. Fans will also remember Sirius attempted to break into Gryffindor Tower during Book 3, but was unable to get by the Fat Lady without the correct password. So at the very least, it seems clear from the series you absolutely must use the correct method of entry or you won't be allowed to enter.
No exceptions.
My final question, and I have a lot more, but I was limited to only 3. I'm just kidding. No, it was an honor being here. I'm really happy to be on this this video. But my last question is about classes. How will classes work? So, and by classes I mean the like school lessons, not like is there different like classes of magic wielders, right? Again, the possibilities I think are endless. You can do something where you set a schedule. Is there free time? Can you go around the around like the corridors? Can you skip classes? Are there punishments for that? Do classes tie into like skill points or magic, or maybe you learn something in the class that gives you an ability that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get? Or maybe you can. Maybe you go to the library and you can study and you can read books and you can learn the same thing that way. So maybe you skip classes, but you learn it through fighting, or you learn it through the library. You know what I mean? I think, again, the possibilities are endless. Can you interact with the professors in classes? Can you interact with students? Again, can you make like your own schedule? Do you have like a counselor in the beginning of the year that you get to pick your 6 classes? Even the number, how in depth are there? Are there like 3 of them? Is it like potions? Is it defense against the dark arts? Like, are we limiting it to just the big ones everybody kind of knows? Or are we doing some like obscure ones that very few people maybe remember or know about? How many? Is there 10? Is there 15? Is there 4? Those are all things, again, it may not sound like a big thing, but I mean, you could be spending a substantial amount of time in this game in classes. I don't know if they would go the persona route, right? That would be a very different way of doing it. And that's honestly not the way a lot of people have speculated. So I'm really excited to see how classes work, because I think they connect to pretty much everything in the game.
Awesome, Alex, and thanks so much again for joining me for this video. Next, another question I'm so curious about: how many spells are in the game? Spellcasting is obviously going to be a huge component and will play a major role in how the game actually plays. If I'm being honest here, this is something I never felt like the original games were able to nail just right. They each kind of had their own way of trying to tackle it, and we even had various motions and wand movements with some of the Wii versions. But they never really captured the essence of being a powerful wizard with a number of different spells at our disposal to use anytime we want. One thing that often held those games back was how the spells were contextual in nature. There was frequently just one way to solve a problem and only one specific spell to get past certain obstacles. I hope Hogwarts Legacy is able to think outside the box and have a system that's more open and one that encourages experimentation. One of the greatest elements of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is just how open the game is and how it lets you solve problems and tackle challenges in a way that seems best to you. It doesn't lock you into only one way to solve a problem. We know the basic spells like Lumos, Alohomora, Stupefy will almost certainly be in the game. But what about the more obscure spells like Aguamenti? Will there be a chance to learn the Patronus Charm? Or what about Ridiculous to take out some boggarts? And of course, I know, I can hear you guys out there right now shouting in the comments, the Unforgivables. We want the Unforgivables. Will they be in? I don't know. For question number 7, I really want to know, how long is the game? Look, don't get me wrong, I love the speculating, I love the theorizing that we're doing, but I also understand where fans are coming from when they say that we should probably temper our expectations. One of the biggest reasons I think we're seeing these calls to kind of rein in our expectations is because we know so little about the overall scope of the game. We really just don't know how ambitious Avalanche is going to be with this project. It could be a 20-hour experience or a 100-plus hour experience. How big is the world? How many storylines and branching narrative paths will there be? Will the game be truly open like The Witcher, or will it follow a mostly linear path with a few side quests along the way? The answers to those questions is what will ultimately determine how long the game will be and just how much time we'll want to spend in the world. I've heard from so many of you in the comments about how you just want to explore Hogwarts, take in every little detail walking around the castle. Trust me, I'm right there with you, and I hope they're able to nail that experience and make the game we'll want to spend hundreds of hours exploring. Be sure and let me know what questions you guys want to have answered down in the comments below. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.